is energy. Energy is life.
It powers our lives, it makes the world go round.
It moves us forward to discover, grow, and transform.
Energy knows no bounds. Energy takes us places and lightens our path.
But what happens when the same thing that fuels our lives also puts our futures at risk?
We take a step back and find a different way.
A more sustainable, affordable, and reliable way of producing energy and consuming it wisely.
We lower and control our emissions to accelerate progress and strive for net zero.
By unlocking the potential of an energy-secure economy,
We're creating a universal pathway to clean, stable, and sustainable energy future. In Saudi Arabia, we are investing heavily in the growth of a circular carbon economy, leading the world in its transition to carbon neutrality.
We aim to generate 50% of our electricity from renewable technologies, reducing our projected 2030 emissions by more than 278 million tons.
This is the energy future we envision, a future where nature, energy, and humanity exist in harmony. Our vision is ambitious, our mission is global, and the pathways are possible. Join us in this journey to develop pathways for secure, affordable, and sustainable energy transition that leaves no one behind.
It's happening today, and the future is now.
Please. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I'm not here to make another speech because I have Daniel promised to grill me like hell. But I felt it's very important that as a host, as the chairman of KAPSARC, that it's my duty to welcome everybody here with a resonating, self-assured statement that I do welcome you in Saudi Arabia, the young Saudi Arabia, the ambitious Saudi Arabia, the determined Saudi Arabia, and the courageous Saudi Arabia, but more important, the more emancipated Saudi Arabia. I wanted to share with you a little story of my affiliation with the International Association of Energy Economists. I'm running neck to neck with some of our friends here. I still proclaim that I was the first Saudi to become a member of the association. And unfortunately, I have no meaningful way to validate that or verify that. I even asked our friends from the association to help me out. But in them days, which I think it was 1986, end of 85, early 86, I became a member. But then I lost track of my membership. So I also want to use this occasion, if I could call it, renew my vows and appeal in a repenting way to the association with the full desire of making myself for the second time, a member of the association, albeit late 36 years ago. But let me tell you why we are here also, in this building, in this vicinity, in this institution. KAPSARC was a life dream for me. When I graduated from university, did my MBA, I had a small dream of creating a small energy research unit at KFUPM Research Institute. Then we had a gracious rector of the university who allowed me to put together that unit, which I have started building up late 85, 86, and early part of 87. And here I am, I want to share with you my very first story of failure. I did fail miserably. And I bequeathed that unit to another friend of mine, which he continued the self-assured movement of failure. And the reason for the failure is so simple. When you don't have the will of the institution, and you don't have the enablers to build these institutions, you tend to fail and fail miserably. That's why when the opportunity came in 2006, I took an advocacy at that time, being an assistant minister of energy, of petroleum and minerals at that time, advocating that we have to build this institution because we're running out of talent as the ministry. We are running out of capable people, and we need the think tank. But we don't need don't think and tank. We needed the think tank, the incubator of talents, and for that to happen, you need the capable institution, the enabled institution. So in the journey of 2 years of trying and trying and trying again, and that's why people sometimes want to understand the type of stamina I have. It's these experiences of failure and rising again from the ashes. Because I have a motto which I share with my new young colleagues, which is a very simple one. Don't give in, don't give up. And because of that, I managed to pull the rabbit and create the bylaws of KAPSARC, which is second to none at that time. And more important, and the biggest enabler at that time, and still is the endowment. So in my judgment, and I remain to be corrected, I would claim that KAPSARC is the most enabled think tank in planet Earth. It has the facilities, it has the accommodations, it has the endowment, and it has the talents, and it has the bylaws that allow it to recruit every talented person in planet Earth. And now I want to also share with you the good news that we are going to build a college, a graduate college on public policy. And the dean of that college is sitting here somewhere around us. She's Dr. Ghada Al-Arifi. Where is she? She's not here. I'm sure she's missing in action because she's such a determined person who wants to make her touches in this institution here to stay for as long as this institution stays. Without much ado, and I'm sorry for taking so much of your time, but I also owe it to the people of KAPSARC who put the time, efforts, helping our Saudi association in building this gathering, which I think it has just registered a record of attendance. Where we want to have KAPSARC to be, KAPSARC will be the incubator of events like this and many more to come in the future. I assure you that with the resetting we had done to KAPSARC over the last 3 years, which is really literally putting it back to where it should have been before, that resetting program was done by the community within KAPSARC, by them, for them, on a bottom-up approach, which makes me even more proud of the talented people that are present in KAPSARC. What we want to do is make sure that we make our story to the public, and for whoever is listening to me and will be listening over the next 2, 3, 4 days, make a choice and join KAPSARC. It will be a place of great and full excitement. Thank you.
شكراً لك صاحب السمو الملكي الأمير عبد العزيز بن سلمان آل سعود. حضورنا الكرام، نود تذكيركم بأن اللغة الرسمية لمؤتمر الليلة هي اللغة الإنجليزية. يمكنكم الاستماع إلى الترجمة الفورية باللغة العربية من خلال أجهزة الترجمة. Thank you, Your Royal Highness Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman Al Saud, and on behalf of everyone here, we shan't give in and we shan't give up. Your Royal Highness, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, where energy has a home. I'm Rana Al-Hanaya, your MC for tonight. It is a privilege to welcome all of you, some of the world's greatest minds in the energy sector, energy industry leaders, thought leaders, and global policymakers, here in the 44th IAEE conference under the theme Pathways to a Clean, Stable, and Sustainable Energy Future. A little housekeeping before we commence, as we are all in the energy business, and of course safety is paramount. We're not planning to do any drills. However, if an incident happens, the exits are here, there, as well as over there. As a courtesy, please set your mobile phones to silent during the forums and the meetings. I also ask you to respect privacy protocols and refrain from recording or taking any photographs during the event. The language of the IAEE is English, but to facilitate interaction and engagement, we do have the interpreting devices for your convenience. This conference is about participation and not just observation. It is about networking and learning, and it is about having fun with your global peers. There will be time allocated for questions, of course, towards the end, but please leave them to the appropriate time. This evening, we will open the 44th IAEE conference, followed by a fireside conversation between His Royal Highness Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman Al Saud and Daniel Yergin. We will also be presenting the annual IAEE Awards and recognizing the event sponsors before you are invited to the gala dinner. So now, let's kick off the 44th IAEE conference, and please welcome to the stage the host of this event, Fahad Al-Ajlan, President of KAPSARC.
Thank you, Rana. Your Royal Highness, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, friends, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. His Royal Highness is always a tough act to follow, so I blame the organizing committee for having me follow him. It will be difficult to surpass him, so at least I'll try to be brief. First, let me welcome all of you on behalf of my colleagues at the King Abdullah Petroleum Study and Research Center, as well as our co-host, the Saudi Association for Energy Economics. We would like to welcome you to this first edition, and it's our pleasure to host it, being the first at Middle East and North Africa. Let me just give a brief word after His Royal Highness introduction about KAPSARC. KAPSARC was established in 2007. It's a non-profit center dedicated to the studies of energy and economics and sustainability. Our vision is to be a leading global advisory think tank to help shape global and domestic policy through evidence-based analysis and research. Last year, the 43rd edition was held in Tokyo under the theme of Mapping the Energy Future, Voyage in Uncharted Territory. It looked at the challenges facing the world in an extremely challenging year. Today in 2023, we're meeting to discuss how can we meet this triple challenge of energy security, energy affordability, and climate change. That's why the theme of this year conference is Pathways to a Clean, Stable, and Sustainable Energy Future. The emphasis on pathways. We need to be clear, there is no one path to net zero. No one defined one-size solution that fits all. Instead, there are many pathways that gets us there. Pathways that take into account national circumstances, economic development, and solutions that are local, national, regional, and global. Not the other way around. And here in Saudi Arabia, we aim to lead by example. Over the next 4 days, the conference will discuss many of these challenges that we face and will try to find solutions for them. We encourage you to talk, to discuss, to network, to learn, to collaborate together. That's the theme of the conference, and that's the principle that KAPSARC stands on. I would also like to thank the International Association for Energy Economics for their support in organizing this edition of the conference and their unwavering support. I would also like to thank the organizing committee, the many teams that have worked on tirelessly to organize this, and all the volunteers who helped us. And finally, I would like to thank our sponsors. Without their support and generosity to organize this conference, it would not have been possible. Thank you for attending, and I wish that you will have fun over the next 4 days. Thank you.
And leading by example, we shall. Thank you, Fahad Al-Ajlan, President of KAPSARC. Ladies and gentlemen, it's about 12 degrees here in Riyadh tonight, and it's the perfect weather for a fireside chat. This conversation will be between two of the energy sector's most influential individuals. Please welcome His Royal Highness Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman Al Saud, Saudi Arabia's Minister of Energy, who will have a conversation with Daniel Yergin, Vice Chairman of S&P Global and Chair of the CERA Week Conference, which CNBC has called the Super Bowl of energy. A Pulitzer Prize winner. His new book is titled The New Map, energy, climate, and the clash of nations. His Royal Highness, as he mentioned earlier, Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman, has had an interest in the IAEE since the 80s, when he was one of the first, potentially the first, Saudi national to join the organization. This is sure to be an interesting conversation, and we will be taking questions later, so please hold on to those thoughts. If invited to ask a question, please state your name, where you are from, and the question clearly and kindly be concise. We do not want to be listening to your dissertation. That way, we can accommodate as many questions as possible. Please join me now in formally welcoming His Royal Highness Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman Al Saud and Daniel Yergin.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
Dan, can you give me a second?
Yes.
I do nothing free of charge. That's why I went to Dan to walk him in, just to make sure that we have, what do you call it? I just want to avoid crossfire as side fire. But by the way, in case if you don't know, Dan and I go back actually to the summer of 1986 in the Plaza Athénée. We had lunch, and he handed out for me his first draft of the price. And I must say publicly, I was so honored that you did ask me that then to be one of the reviewers of that book.
Well, thank you very much, Your Highness. It's a great pleasure to be here with you and to be here at KAPSARC. And I noted that phrase you had at the beginning about the will to build. And I so remember when you called me in, I think, 2006 and had this idea for a think tank, i.e. KAPSARC. And at that point, it was just an idea and the willpower and commitment to bring it to where it is today. So congratulations on that. I also want to congratulate you on something else. While I was sitting there, I got a message from the IAEE that your application to be readmitted to the IAEE has been accepted, and I want to congratulate you on that. Since in addition to being the energy minister...
It's probably the costliest membership I've ever paid for.
But the value you bring to the organization is tremendous. Since you have, among you're obviously minister, but you have been an energy economist for so much of your career, I just wonder, for the young people in this audience, what's your message to energy economists?
Yeah.
Particularly the young ones.
Actually, my message to the engineers, make sure that you have an economist around you, because economists do, just to be politically correct, do bring more sanity to your work.
Right. So
that's why we are creating that public policy college, because I noticed that engineers alone are fantastic, but you never know what they can take the world to.
Right. Well, let me begin then just by asking you, obviously there was a certain degree of controversy in the oil market back in October. What lessons you take away from that, and what concerns or issues are on your agenda now?
Well, if there is anything in terms of learning lesson, I see Bob here, I see Bassam, I see Amaretta, and I see, of course, you, Dan. I think the big lesson to learn from is for others to learn. Trust OPEC+. We are a responsible group of countries. We do take policy issues relevant to energy and oil markets in total silo. We don't engage ourselves in political issues. And if people had trusted us, then we would not have underwent the first 2 weeks after the decision of these trepidations that took place. But here we are today in January, or February, I ask you what happened to the market. That's one lesson. Two, with all due respect, forecasters are good forecasters. They do their best, but not necessarily what they forecast happens as a reality. So if people can adapt to my other motto, which is, I will believe it when I see it, and then take action, it's a much more profound, self-assuring, cautious approach.
Right. Well, as you say, you have to see what happens, and the unexpected happens. Almost exactly a year ago, something that no one really expected happened, a war in Ukraine. It's led from a global oil market to a more divided oil market. How do you see the oil market working, and how has it changed the flow of Saudi oil?
Well, ever since I became a minister, I don't know it's an anathema or a curse or what have you, but after the first 6th or 7th day, let's not forget that we ourselves as Saudi Arabia went through a September 14th, which people tend to forget. But we had our successful IPO, which took a good amount of work. And again, people did not believe us that we will come from the ashes in a matter of 3 days, up and running at full capacity. People did not trust us when we said we will have the most successful IPO in the energy sector, and here you go. People did not trust us when I was shouting my head off, effective the 23rd of January 2020, because I saw it coming. And not even within our constituents, within our OPEC Plus, there was hesitation and reluctance to accept that this is going to be a big one. What happened on the 6th of March was a testament for the lack of comprehension of how big and how much of a tsunami we would have underwent with what we had underwent in 2020. But also, people lost the ability to think that OPEC Plus can regroup, can be attentive, and do the right thing, which we did on the 12th of April, after a great deal of successful negotiation. Admittedly, and it is my duty to say, it was led by His Royal Highness the Crown Prince, Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and yes, with President Trump at that time and President Putin. But again, we came honorably, all of us. And I have to remind people that in those meetings, we had 2 OPEC Plus meetings. One was on Thursday, I think it was the 9th or 10th of April, followed, and I repeat, followed by a called for G20 energy ministers to try to bridge the gap of what OPEC Plus can do and what others within the G20 countries would do. It is in our public record, because we were the host of the G20. The General Secretary of the IAEA was counting the numbers of who will be contributing amongst the other G20 countries that were present as a way to contribute to bring about stability to the energy market. It was actually on the 12th, 2 days after that, that OPEC Plus agreed to the pact that we have created, which was in doing much of what we have done, the 10 million plus the 4 or 5 million that was contributed by the other G20. There was also a purchase of stocks to fill up or to close the gap. Had we did not done that collaboratively with everybody, I don't know where would be the energy market. I don't know who would be producing oil today. I don't know who will be talking about the current situation.
So how do you see the current change over the last year, particularly with the embargo in Europe, the price cap, and just the flow of oil?
Well, what worries me the most now is that we reached the climax of the so-called April 2020. Now it's a world that is suffering from so many common issues. However, people are electing to attend to it in cantons. So there are few cantons. Each canton thinks that he can handle his issues separately from the others. I have lived long enough, worked in this sector long enough, so as you, Dan. In energy, there is always a better chances for holistic solutions, collective efforts and holistic solutions. The compartmentalized, cocooned solutions tend to bring people afar and tend to create more chaos. So in the endeavor of everybody trying to bring solutions to these problems, I'm afraid we might end up with a more chaotic situation than what everybody is aspiring for.
Right. So turning to the theme of this conference, it's pathways. There's two words that you encounter everywhere in the world, everywhere in the energy world, of course, is energy transition. How do you think, what mistake are people making when they think about energy transition? Or how do you want people to think about it?
Well, again, the same thing. People think that each and every one of us thinks that he will get away with it alone. But people forget that people will be seeking the same resources, seeking the same raw material, competing over these raw materials, competing over markets, and competing because they think that they have stacked up a competitive anomalies that are pertinent to themselves vis-a-vis the others. And in doing so, they're even talking about creating the silos where a bit of protectionism, a bit of subsidy, a bit of this, a bit of public policy. Gone are the days of free markets, and gone are the days of globalization, and more to do with, again, the cocooned approach. For us, for example, in Saudi Arabia, we can claim it and we have the evidence to show for it. We are the least cost producer of renewables. Subsequently, we will become the least cost producer of hydrogen. We're gearing ourselves to be not an oil country, but an energy producing country. We believe that in scoring or comparing our ability to score and scoring vis-a-vis the others, we can become the exporter of electricity, green electricity to the world. We can become the all of the above, green, hydrogen, blue, purple, whatever, but we're working hard to make it clean hydrogen. This way people would not be too facetious about what color they choose. And we have the evidence to showcase it. We are also working on sequesterization, and we're reaching out to everybody in the globe, trying to market our hydrogens. I'll give you a piece of news. We're even going to be adventurous. So we're going to move producing the electricity, converting it to the hydrogen, waiting for knocking people's doors, asking them if they want to purchase it. But in all honesty, the transition that people are aspiring for, I cannot comment on it because I know whatever I would say, it would be interpreted as this is the very energy minister of Saudi Arabia who's trying to send off people from transitioning. Or what I want to say is that be careful of what you wish for.
Because?
Because it will not happen in the same speed. It can never happen with the projected cost. And I'll give you an example. In Saudi Arabia, the cheapest producer of renewable, the difference between projects that we did in 20 and 21 and 22 is almost 20% and 30 to 40%. Can you escalate with all the transitioning that will happen? And by the way, it is not just going to be on producing electricity. It will be wiring for the electricity. It will be the transmission line. It will be the distribution lines. It will be the hydrogen and what hydrogen requires in terms of materials. It will be the facilities that will be built to export hydrogen or even distribute domestically hydrogen. It will be the carbon sequestration and what it requires. It would be the emission, the carbon capturing that is required. And you know what also? It will be the cars, it will be the vehicles, it will be the mobility components of all that if we are to electrolyze it. And I ask everybody, how much it would cost? How much competition will be there competing over the same resources? Check, not my number, check what has been produced today of all these materials that are going to be used. See how much is available. See how much it would take to make more available. And what would be the world capacity of availabilities even of the resource itself. And I would have to say, for the purpose of completeness, who is the owner of these resources and who is going to manage the markets of these resources? If people thought that OPEC in past, or OPEC plus as they claim it as being a cartel, you haven't seen the real cartel yet.
I think people will find it very striking, reflecting on, among many things you just said, the fact that the cost curve for renewables seems to have been going up and not going down, because the assumption has been that the cost will continue to come down forever.
Well, I'll believe it when I see it. But we are in the market today. We procure all of these things. Just for our own overhauling our transmission line and distribution line. Khalid Ghnoun here, he will tell you that over the last 2 years, we have reviewed, and with an increment of at least 20 to 30% in a year. This is just overhauling existing transmission lines and distribution lines. And it's going to cost us no less than $1 billion. Yeah. I assure you that next year, the same company will tell us, no, it got higher. And who can afford it? There's one more other thing, which is affordability. There are countries that will be able to afford it in the name of the G20, and we are amongst them. But look around and check who is going to afford it.
So we'll open to questions in a couple of minutes, just a couple more questions for you. To build on your last couple of comments, could you say a little more about what the carbon management strategy is for the kingdom?
Yeah. As the video was showing, and I'm sure our colleagues will spend so much time explaining the circular carbon economy, which is really giving us this sense of focus on what we want to do. But we're doing it. You know, Aramco is going to build the hub. We're including it in our strategy. Hopefully our strategy will be approved very soon. There is a big spending program that will come tagged with that. You see, that's the difference. We have a strategy, we have allocation of funds, and we have a roadmap. And we have a leader that KPI everybody, and he is, to be honest, on the neck of everybody on deliverance. That's the difference. So we are dead serious about it, not because we want to brag about it, but we have created that green initiative, that Middle East initiative. And now we made it commensurate, you know, we usually execute it or have it on a yearly basis, commensurate with the COP, like what we did in Sharm el-Sheikh on COP 27. It was a side event to COP 27. It will be a side event on COP 28 in Dubai. Why? We want to really make ourselves held accountable for what we are talking about. We know for certain that the world needs hydrocarbons, not fossil fuel, hydrocarbons. To have the world continue using hydrocarbons, you have to mitigate. And you have to showcase you are mitigating all greenhouse gases. Because people are overlooking methane. And you know, we will share with everybody the numbers. We're better than many, and I mean many G20. Think of the biggest, the G20, we are better than in CO2 emission. We're actually going to be exemplary for methane emission for everybody, and we have a record to show per unit, per whatever it is. What we need is to make sure that the world believe us, trust us, that we will mitigate, and we mitigate, we shall. You know, just 3 weeks ago, I have terminated a tender of 7.4 or 2 giga of electricity that was supposed to be generated by using gas. And the reason is, main reason is that the principal buyer did not think of including carbon sequestration. So I said, no, we will have to terminate, and we'll have to showcase to the world that we are determined. And by the way, what is this doing for us, which is a lesson for all hydrocarbon producers, do that for your betterment, because you will be inclusive and more companies will come and participate. We know it, we want to do it, and we want to take the lead on it.
So my last question before we turn to the audience, you said I was going to grill you, and this is going to be the most difficult question, and it will be challenging, so I'm just warning you.
What did I have for lunch?
No, it's going to be even more serious than that. You have had this extraordinary ability to find the perfect motion picture title to describe a situation, La La Land, Gone with the Wind. Where we are today, do you have a movie title in mind that you think describes? You can think about it.
You know, my modus operandi today is more of a, I like Jack Nicholson, I told you before. And he has a good movie called As Good As It Gets.
Okay. This question was not rehearsed.
And to the others, the La La Lands and the likes, my glossary is endless. Okay. So watch out of what you say.
Okay. Well, thank you. I think we have an opportunity for about 10 minutes of questions, as pointed out by our moderator, not speeches, just questions. And is there a microphone circulating?
Yeah, I guess so.
How are we doing this? I guess somebody could just raise their hand.
We will do it like the auditors, you know, first in, first served type of thing. Please. Can we have a microphone here?
Microphone. There's a microphone.
We have the gentleman here first. I'm sorry, and then here. Go ahead.
Your Royal Highness, my name is Christophe Bonnery.
You sound French, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. I am the 2019 president of the IAEE, but in 1986, I was working at the KFUPM Division 6, the Research Institute, under your management. I was then, so I am afraid I am the living proof that you were a member in 1986.
Yeah, I want to ask you, do you know of what happened to Dr.
Salawi?
No.
Mohammed Al-Fayed?
Just hold it. Dr. Jarjour, what happened?
Gabi Jarjour.
Yes, Gabi. Where is he?
Gabi is in Canada now. He's in Montreal, in Canada. He's still alive, and he's because we are exchanging some mails from time to time.
You see, working with me doesn't kill.
It may make you tired, but not kill you. You have a question.
Yes, I have written a question.
No, but I'm glad you came as a coopérant.
Yes.
Yes. In those days, people would be sent as coopérants to work with and to avoid, I think, military.
Absolutely.
Yes. See, again, for those who question my memory, that's a refresher.
I congratulate you for your memory.
And we ate together a lot of donuts. Yeah. And you and I complained about it, that it has nothing to do with French food.
So if I have written the question, it's not a dissertation to answer to the lady. The kingdom is becoming a world leader in all forms of sustainable energy. Sustainable meaning good for environment and good for economic growth. As we know, energy economics must be the equilibrium between supply and demand. So I understand that the contribution of the kingdom in global energy supply is already set in place. You are preparing the new technologies, the 4 Rs, the reduce, reuse, recycle, remove carbon, with hydrogen, with CCS.
Question.
And so the question is the second side of the balance. It's on the demand. What is the role that the kingdom intends to do on the demand side? Do you want to be present on the side of energy efficiency, on the side of sobriety, consumers' behavior, going to educate people to be more efficient in terms of sobriety? Okay. This is my question. Is on the demand side.
Christophe, it's very simple. The circular carbon economy has the 4 Rs. We are KPIing ourselves of how much we can deliver in the 4 Rs. We cannot afford just focusing on one and leaving the rest, including, by the way, remove. That's why in the Green Initiative and the Middle East Initiative, there is a lot of work on sinks. And there is a lot of work, you would see it in sustainability, and I would welcome the chance. I asked Fahad that, we have nothing to hide. There are some of you here that saw the holistic approach that and we don't mind redoing it for everybody here. But even sinks, we're talking about it. There is one, and I'm glad that this thing is being carried to the public domain. There is one even humanitarian issue that we really wholeheartedly take it seriously, which is the issue of clean energy for cooking for the poor. This is a noble humanistic cause that people need to focus on. Again, there are hundreds of millions of people are devoid of modern energy resources. We are pushing that, and we will be pushing that because, again, it is a meaningful also way to show how much this energy ecosystem has been condescending, if I may call it, because it is all about the priorities of the big and developed, and less the calling about the least developed and the devoid of the natural resources or the wealth that they need to bring their overall well-being to a modern state.
I think it's indeed for maybe a billion people, energy transition means going from wood to LPG, which is a different energy transition. Yeah. I think
we are working on both, by the way.
Yeah.
Our program talks about two ways. In communities, we're going to go LPG simply because it creates jobs, distribution, handling, and what have you. In remote areas, we're going renewable. We're actually working with so many people. We'll continue to be, we wholeheartedly believe that hypocrisy has to end and people need to be uplifted. There is billions of people that are suffering from, but also there is an ulterior incentive. For those who wants to see the value for what they may do, is that we will be saving sinks. And saving sinks is a lot better and a lot cheaper in creating a meaningful way to handle removing this CO2. I have to also make a statement about the push we are pushing and the image that is creating around us. I guess we don't care. We honestly don't care. We care about what we do and what we will be doing and what we have set ourselves to continuously, in a yearly basis, showcase to the world.
So I think we can take a couple more questions. Are any of the young, way in the back, there's somebody waving his or her hand. I can only see the hand. And then there'll be one over here.
I think it was my turn. And
short.
Thank you, Your Royal Highness, for your being very frank and candid in your conversation. My question is very simple. Mehmet Ögütçü from London Energy Club, former IEA executive as well. Given this sanctions and blockades disrupting international energy flows, and how do you see the new direction of the energy, whether they are going to be permanent or temporary? Also, international investment trends favoring renewables at the expense of hydrocarbons, how it's going to affect our energy future. Thank you.
That's a very timely question.
But he wanted to ask that, probably that question.
I tried to ask that before.
Right. I don't get into this sanction business. You know, again, I focus on the reality of the day. I know that, you know, with what is happening, and by the way, I have to clearly and assertively say it. We in Saudi Arabia have hearts too. So we're not devoid of emotions and we're not devoid of our humanity. And that's why ask our friends from Ukraine and they will tell you that we are working with them, even trying to develop, to provide them with clean LPG as we speak today. Be it as it may, in all what goes on, had gone in the past or now, all of these so-called sanctions, embargoes, lack of investments, lack of this, they all will convolute into one thing and one thing only. Lack of energy supplies of all kind when they are most needed. That is my worry, and this is something I don't want to be responsible for. That's what I've been warning people about, continue warning people about. This whole trajectory of the future might be lost by virtue of ignorance. Again, I promise people to be as good as it gets. This is my personal view. I am entitled to personal view. It is not politicized, it's not this. As a responsible citizen of this world, I want to make sure people that understand that the going on today would lead possibly, I hope I am terribly wrong, I wish I am terribly wrong, but, and I'm not forecasting or projecting, but I hope that it would not lead to shortages of energy supplies, not oil supplies, not gas supply, but energy supply when it is most needed.
So I think we'll just take a couple more questions. I see somebody standing up with a microphone, so I guess...
There is a lady there in the back.
Yeah.
We just talked about a more emancipated Saudi Arabia, so we have to...
Let's go there and then go to the lady. Oh, wait, well, why don't you go and then we'll go there.
The lady there, please. We have two ladies. Good. There, yeah.
He's in charge. Okay. Ah.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Royal Highness. You mentioned two very important issues. One is production.
Can you hold the mic a little closer?
One was the production cost, that Saudi Arabia has one of the lowest cost of production for not just fossil fuel but also renewables, and affordability. You also alluded to some of the issues on energy access, but what is particularly Saudi's leadership and role in energy access, especially in areas like Sub-Saharan Africa that we have the most of people off-grid and they have no access to energy? Thank you.
We have a team. محمد الطيار موجود. We have a team. You're more than happy to come and visit us with the ministry. The team is composed actually mainly of young ladies. We're focusing now on Madagascar. We're working with OPEC Fund. We're working with the UN. So we have it physically. You can come. You could see it. We're launching with Madagascar. We signed actually with some few countries when we were in COP 27. But again, this is our approach. We're not going to brag about things. We're not going to talk about things. We will do it and ask the people to come and see it. Again, we owe it to ourselves, we owe it to the world that we need to lead by example.
So I think, was there another lady that...
Please, please.
Where?
The gentleman here, I think.
Well, I'm not a lady, but I will be happy to...
Still can ask a question.
...have my chance to ask a question. My name is John Jimison. I had 50 years in energy in the Washington, D.C. area. And at the beginning of that 50 years, I already knew that there was no country in the world more identified with energy than Saudi Arabia.
Get to your question, John.
The question is, scientists say that we cannot produce our inventories of fossil fuels and burn them and maintain a survivable planet. If Saudi Arabia can lead away from that, I don't see how other countries cannot. But I don't see how Saudi Arabia can really divorce itself from its fundamental resources in that dramatic fashion.
Thank you.
No, we're not engaged in a kind of a self-disruptive approach. We're saying we will be all of the above. We will produce, we will continue to produce, we will be the last man standing. However, I will do it the American way. However, which is with a caveat that we will sequester. We have a record, proven record on methane emission. Let me see who is going to match us. We will have a proven record when it comes to, we will have a proven record when it comes to carbon capture and carbon sequestration. We're putting the facilities in the ground. We will do that. So Our motto, our advocacy is simply said, the whole world need to produce all sorts of energy, albeit mindful of climate change, and with all the tools that we can all work on developing to mitigate all greenhouse gases emissions in all sectors. That has been our endeavor. We will continue not breaching, but actually exercising, executing that, because this is the only meaningful way of making people believe that whatever we say is something that we execute. But that's my problem. It's exactly what you have just said it. You know, picking and choosing energy resources. I don't want to name names out of sheer respect, but just check around, see who's burning more wood now. See who's burning more coal now. See who's more wanting to revisit using nuclear now. Ask yourself, where were they a few months ago? And look at their emission today. And is this transitioning? I don't know.
And I guess what you're saying is that the issue is emissions, and that's what is being addressed. I think we're at the limit of time, so on behalf of the IAEE, on behalf of KAPSARC, on behalf of all of us who have joined us this evening here or streaming, Your Royal Highness, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
As a host, I think we'll go to dinner momentarily, Fahd. I'm going to go around tables, and whoever have a question, just raise your hand, I'll come to you. I will be... We'll have two types of catering. Food catering and nonsense catering, I think.
Idea testing. Thank you. Thank you very much. You're back to our moderator.
That was a wonderful conversation. The conversation had just the right amount of wit and the right number of punchlines. Thank you, Dan Jurgen, for stimulating our thoughts for the week ahead. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Fahad Al-Ajlan, President of KAPSARC, to acknowledge our sponsors. Kindly be seated. His Royal Highness did mention dinner, but we're not there just yet. But soon. Receiving the award for Strategic Partner, Aramco. Receiving the award for Platinum Sponsor, SABIC. Receiving the award for Gold Sponsor,
I owe not to Ashraf. I owe it to his father, because he's one of the people that educated me, trained me, and I'm sorry for being so emotional about it. But not only that, he delivered us a hero. Abdurrahman is a terrible CEO of SABIC.
Receiving the award for gold sponsor, SEC. Receiving the award for silver sponsor, Aqua Power. Receiving the award for bronze sponsor, Yasrif. Receiving the award for bronze sponsor, Satorp. Last but not least, also receiving the award for bronze sponsor, Taqa. Now, please welcome James Smith, Professor Emeritus from the Southern Methodist University, the IAEE past president and former editor of the Energy Journal, also the chair of the IAEE Awards Committee.
Your Highness, thank you and good evening. It's an honor to be here on this occasion. And I am here to introduce and to announce the IAEE's Outstanding Awards for the year 2023. As said, chairing that committee. And we have been advised our job here this week is to have fun. There's really nothing more fun than giving well-deserved awards. That's what we're about to do. Since 1981, that's for over 40 years, IAEE has been making awards in various categories to people that have contributed in their own ways to a better understanding of energy economics. Although we've been giving the awards for over 40 years, I can say we've given many distinguished individuals, none more distinguished than we're going to see tonight. And one could almost say that their work is as good as it gets, Your Honor, Your Highness. So I'm going to begin first by saying that we had a lot of help in making these determinations. The IAEE committee that worked with me on this consisted of 4 individuals. Dr. Yukari Yamashita, who is a director and board member at the Institute of Energy Economics Japan. Professor Richard Green, who is on the faculty of Imperial College London. Professor Carol Dahl, who is with the Colorado School of Mines. And Adam Szyminski, who I think you know is senior advisor to the board here at KAPSARC. They work very diligently. And I now will share with you that the first award, and I would call Dr. Adnan Chihab Eldin to the podium to receive the award for outstanding contributions to the profession over his career. Dr. Adnan's contributions to the profession have been exemplary. They've taken varied forms and sustained over many years. I will say more about that after the award is presented. As I said, I will come back to fill in a few more biographical details after the 3 awards have been presented. The second award is an award we've been giving since 1983, and it is bestowed on the individual who has contributed outstanding journalism on topics relating to international energy systems. This year's award goes very deservedly to Mr. John Defterios. So John, if you will join us. And the third award is a relatively new prize that's been given by the association for the last 2 years. It is named in honor of Marcel Boiteau, and it's given in honor of the best international book that has recently been published and reviewed by the association's journals. We instituted the award 2 years ago to honor authors of books that have been judged to make outstanding contributions. That book this year is titled Crude Volatility, The History of Boom-Bust Oil Prices, and its author with us tonight is Robert McNally. The title pretty much tells the story of the book, but there's another way of summarizing the book that I'd like to share with you, and it was written that Robert McNally has written an excellent biography of a world-famous character known for volatility and violent mood swings, sometimes reviled, but always a player in the world economy and politics, the oil price, the biography of the oil price. And I'm quoting here no less an authority than Daniel Yergin, who wrote those words. My apologies, Daniel. Okay, if the honorees would care to take a seat, as I promised, I would like to tell you a little bit more about the very deserving backgrounds and accomplishments of these gentlemen. It's all good there? Okay. I want to begin again with Dr. Adnan, who is currently Senior Visiting Research Fellow at the Oxford Institute for Energy Studies in the UK, and also a board member at the Kearney Energy Transition Institute in the Netherlands. Adnan is, of course, also very well known for his service as former Director General of the Kuwait Foundation for the Advancement of Science, and for his service as OPEC's acting Secretary General and Director of Research. And Dr. Adnan has also held senior director positions at the IAEA and UNESCO, and earlier served as Director General of the Kuwait Institute of Scientific Research. Excuse me. Dr. Adnan received his bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees all from the University of California, Berkeley. And in view of his many accomplishments, UC Berkeley in 2017 bestowed upon him its Walter A. Haas International Award. I will close this by noting that Dr. Adnan is obviously a man of broad interests, but perhaps even broader than some of you may realize. I say this because after he received my email announcing his selection to receive the Outstanding Contributions Award, Dr. Adnan very graciously and almost immediately responded to me via return email. And that response came from the elevation of 13,600 feet at the base camp of Annapurna, high in the Himalayan mountains, where Dr. Adnan happened to be trekking at the time. So all I can say is wow, and I'm humbled and can only say that this is a very richly deserved award, proudly given, and I'd like you to come to the microphone to acknowledge.
Your Royal Highness, Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman, distinguished Professor Jean-Michel Cléchamp, Professor James Smith, Dr. David Williams of the IAEA, not IEA, Dr. Mujib Munif, Chairman of this conference, Dr. Fahd Lajlan, President of KAPSARC, Excellencies, friends, colleagues, and guests. It's truly an honor to receive this prestigious award from the International Association for Energy Economics, and a real privilege to be presented this award tonight by His Royal Highness, whose vast knowledge of energy, excellent skills in energy leadership and diplomacy have always been a source of admiration for me, starting from the days in OPEC in 2001. And I'm truly humbled to be in the company of inspirational individuals who received the award before me. I've been blessed to have had the opportunity to meet, learn from, work with, and befriend some of those giants on the list, and many more deserving professionals who are not on the list, but they have contributed nonetheless their brilliancy to the field. Of those previous recipients, allow me to mention two. Due to their influence they had on me, and I had the privilege of getting to know them very well over an extended period of time, and I value their friendship. First, I came to know and work with the late Robert Mabro, the founder of the Oxford Institute for Energy Studies. He was kind enough to invite me year after year to the Oxford Energy Seminar to give talks about energy, energy policy, energy technology, and I learned a lot by being with him and with the Oxford Energy Seminar and Institute. I also came to know Dan Yergin, who's with us here tonight, and by the way, yesterday I was seated next to him in the aeroplane coming here by chance. So we had a nice conversation. But I got to know him during my tenure at OPEC, and afterward when we both served at the International Advisory Council of KAPSARC, referred to here, at the inception of KAPSARC. But in less than 15 years, KAPSARC is now recognized as one of the top energy think tanks of the world. And it's befitting, in my view, that the annual IEA conference is co-hosted by the Saudi Association for Energy Economics in this beautiful campus of KAPSARC, designed by the legendary Zaha Hadid. And I first came to know the IAEE before I joined OPEC, when I was really a researcher, and I used the Journal of Energy a lot to gain knowledge about energy technology and energy economics, or I should say energy techno-economics, as I learned that term in the 80s from some of my friends at KAPSARC, the Kuwait Institute for Scientific Research. But my serious entry into energy economics was when I joined OPEC, and a couple of years before that when I worked for the International Atomic Energy Agency, both in Vienna. And then I discovered how little I know about energy economics and how much more I had to learn. And more importantly, that gave me the opportunity to further my friendship and nurture my working relationships with many of the members and leaders of the IAEE. For someone like me, trained as a nuclear scientist, to receive such a prestigious award from the IAEE in energy economics for contribution to the profession is really, truly humbling, to say the least. So in accepting this award from His Royal Highness, my hope is that this will encourage, as you said, Your Royal Highness, young aspiring scientists and engineers and economists working together in advancing the important field of energy economics as the world transitions to a more sustainable energy future that addresses climate change, security, and affordability. And as the theme of this conference suggests, there are alternative pathways to energy transition, and I'm not going to dwell upon them, but we may not know which are these until they happen. But what we do know is that we must continue to learn, understand, and adjust the pathways, and that it may include all of us, or it should include all of us, and be fair to all of us, and improve the life of all of us, especially the underprivileged. But also at the same time embracing the goals that the IEA strives to achieve through its excellence research, publications, meeting, and public awareness program. Because of time, it does not permit me to list and acknowledge all and everyone who supported me and really impacted my career as I stand before you. But I must acknowledge when I'm here in Riyadh, in Saudi Arabia, in the kingdom, my colleagues and friends from Aramco, the Ministry of Energy, and KAPSARC. I also want to acknowledge friends at the Arab Energy Club, the Oxford Institute for Energy Studies, and other global energy think tanks, OPEC and other multilateral international organizations. And above all, special thanks due to my country that supported me and its leadership, and to many more friends and colleagues at KPC and K companies in KAPSARC, Kuwait University, and the broader energy community and business community in Kuwait for their support. Of course, I would be remiss not to thank my family while I stand in front of you, all of my friends and colleagues that have steadfastly supported me and helped me along the way. My thanks again to the IAEE, its leadership, the awards committee, and the Saudi Association for Energy Economics, for KAPSARC, for providing me this truly incredible honor that I stand before you here. Your Royal Highness, thank you again for presenting me with this award. It has touched me so much in many ways. Thank you very much.
We move now to the Journalism Award, and I want to just give you a little bit of background that John Defterios is a veteran, award-winning journalist and economic analyst with more than 35 years of experience at CNN, at Reuters, at PBS television in the United States, and others. He recently retired as CNN's business emerging markets editor and anchor. which he handled from his base in Abu Dhabi starting in 2011. Currently, John serves as Senior Advisor to the International Advisory Council member for APCO Worldwide. As you may know, APCO is an independent public affairs consultancy that focuses on handling sensitive political and crisis management issues. John has covered many landmark events during his career, including the Gulf War, the fall of the Berlin Wall, the World Trade Center bombings, the G8, the G20, the summits. His last major project for CNN was the conception, the launch, and hosting of the program called Global Energy Challenge, a year-long series that explored the energy transition. And in this role, John was managing editor and presenter traveling from Far East Asia to North America, exploring the journey to net zero by 2050. John started covering energy in the mid-1980s with special series from Alaska, from the Gulf of Mexico, and the Arabian Gulf. John graduated from the University of Southern California with a BA in journalism and political economics, and was a fellow at the university's Institute of Politics and Government in Washington, D.C. John, on behalf of IAEE, let me just say that this award, we're delighted to present it to you, and we hold your work in highest regard. So please join me.
Dr. Smith, thanks for the nice introduction. It's very kind. I want to thank the jury, of course. It's an honor to be here tonight, and as Dr. Adnan said, to be awarded by His Royal Highness Prince Abdulaziz. It's especially touching. I'm one that caught the energy bug quite early, in fact, in the mid-1980s and the oil bust in '86, as James was saying, as a special producer for PBS TV. And I remember going down to Houston and seeing these vast fields of the oil rigs when oil hit $6 a barrel. And it was 2 years later when I went to the North Slope of Alaska to see whether the early energy explorers would stay put after the price collapse. The answer is yes. But it was a pivotal moment in 1990 when Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. As a young reporter, my team and I had captured the exclusive video, aerial video of the damage to the Al Ahmadi oil field, which was extraordinary, almost by accident. In fact, I broke 3 stories in the same week, and a week later, CNN invited me to join the network. As the fabled Gulf explorer Ibn Battuta noted in his travel diary, there is no better knowledge than what we obtained during our explorations. For me, it was 70 countries, venturing into oil and gas fields from Central Asia to Africa, as James said, to the Gulf of Mexico, and the final 10 years here in the Arabian Peninsula, which is my second home. Actually, in my heart, it's my first home. I've enjoyed it. And I rarely tell people this, but in 1990, when I came to cover the invasion of Kuwait and I was based in Dubai, I said, I have to live here one day, but I didn't think it was going to take me 20 years to get back to do so from 2011 to 2021. I'm extremely grateful from the key moments and the experiences I've had with 5 Saudi ministers of energy, going back to the late Sheikh Yamani, and now with His Royal Highness Abdulaziz bin Salman, who put his decades of experience to work in the last 3 years in a big way, particularly with OPEC+. I became very close to His Excellency Mohammed Sanusi Barkindo, peace be upon him, and his passing. I appreciate his work. His guidance from Dan Jurgen's been great over the last 20 years of my time in the field. And Ibrahim Al-Muhannas, who's with us tonight, the spokesman, there he is, at 27 took me kindly by the hand and took me into an exclusive meeting with Hisham Nasser during the crunch period after the invasion of Kuwait at the Intercontinental Hotel in Vienna, and I'm very grateful for all what you did there. As we've discovered over the last year in particular, energy is what drives this wonderful world. It requires over $1 trillion of investment every year. It creates international partnerships which last usually a half a century, if not more, and at times drives conflict over precious resources. As you all know in this room too, it's also a crisis that makes us realize what we often take for granted, and that is access to energy. In my final 2 years at CNN as James suggested, I did a project that was extraordinary going across the world for the Global Energy Challenge. We did 4 documentaries, 30 field reports, 4 public town halls to capture what it would take to have a successful energy transition. And towards the end of that journey, if it wasn't challenging enough, the pandemic set in and we had to cover the breaking news with OPEC+, oil prices going to zero, Saudi Arabia and Russia coming together at a very critical time. But I strongly believe, and I know others in this room feel the same, we're at another pivotal moment, a crucial one, trying to find common ground on what is the challenge of our lifetime. Moving into climate action and providing energy, as His Royal Highness was suggesting, to 2 billion people who don't have access to energy on a daily basis, which is quite extraordinary in the year 2021. As an energy fellow now at the World Economic Forum and also as a professor of business for NYU in Abu Dhabi, at the WEF in Davos, I chaired 8 panels, sat in countless private sessions, and I came down from the Magic Mountain via the train on the Saturday to follow with a mix of optimism and anxiety. We know this industry is full of solutions, but the silos remain between the IECs, the climate activists, government leaders, and, for example, even the United Nations. So in the spirit of Bedouin traditions, it's time to expand the tent, and I'd say expand it very quickly. I'm a child of the 1960s, so that means the era of John F. Kennedy, and he had called to put a man on the moon by the end of the decade, and they did in 1969. I think for the industry today, and I'd like to be part of it, this is our global moonshot, and we can take ownership, and within the next 3 decades, let our children and our grandchildren know we did tackle the energy trilemma. And as I look back at my last 3 decades, I will go back to my family roots in Ithaca or Ithaki in the Ionian Sea in the poem written by Constantine Cavafy. The writer makes an allusion of the legendary journey of Ulysses to the journey of every man or woman through life and suggests that each person is looking for his own Ithaki or Ithaca, his personal supreme goal. It's not the goal, but the journey that matters, I found out in my last 35 years, because this journey makes us wise and gives people the richest good. Those 3 things are experience, knowledge, and maturity. I am, for one, and those who know me in the energy business, I'm very grateful for this energy journey for the last 3 decades plus, and being an active witness of history. I'm very grateful for all that I've been able to do. My thanks again to the jury and all the support that I've been given, and I look forward to participating in the roundtables on the days to come. Thank you very, very much. Yeah.
Now we come to the book award, and in terms there, I've already introduced Robert McNally. Bob is the founder and president of Rapidan Energy Group in the Washington area. It's a market policy and geopolitical consulting firm. Bob has over 30 years of government and market experience as an international energy consultant, an energy advisor to President George W. Bush, and hedge fund strategist. Bob has testified, as recently as last week, I understand, before the U.S. Congress on energy markets and national security. He is regularly interviewed by leading media outlets as well. From 2001 to 2003, Bob served as special assistant to the president on the White House National Economic Council, and in 2003 served as senior director for international energy on the National Security Council in the U.S. Bob earned his bachelor's degree in political science and international relations from American University and a master's degree in international economics and foreign policy from Johns Hopkins School of Advanced International Studies, SAIS. Bob, congratulations again on a wonderful piece of scholarship. It's one that I know will surely occupy a lasting place on the bookshelf of energy economists for a long time.
Thank you very much. His Royal Highness was kind enough a few minutes ago to name me among some distinguished colleagues as a forecaster. I'm going to start with the assumption that you're hungry. I'm going to observe, I'm the last scheduled speaker before you eat, and I'm going to forecast this is going to be mercifully short and sweet. Your Royal Highness, Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman, thank you for presenting me with this great honor. And thank you, President Fahad Al-Ajlan, and your hardworking KAPSARC colleagues for hosting this fabulous conference. And congratulations, Adnan and John, for your well-deserved awards. Let me start by thanking the IAEE Nominating Committee and you, Jim, for this honor. Thank you to my democratic doppelganger, Jason Bordoff, who's not here, but he urged me to write this book and introduced me to Columbia University Press, which published it. I am grateful to Jason's Center on Global Energy Policy, which has helped me amplify the book's message. A special thanks to my friend and mentor, Adam Szyminski, who, while serving as EIA administrator in the government, secretly reviewed and gave me advice on the book. Now that he's out of government, we can reveal that classified piece of information. Thank you, Adam. I'm very grateful to my Rapid and Energy Group colleague, Fernando Ferreira, for the research, and Krista Dugan for the meticulous fact-checking. Crude volatility allowed me to combine my professional loves: history, energy policy, and oil markets. I am deeply grateful to veteran energy experts who encouraged and shaped my professional growth and enabled me to write the book. It started 32 years ago with Sarah Emerson from ESAI. She tapped this starving, returned Peace Corps volunteer in grad school on the shoulder and said, "Do you want to count barrels?" I said, "If you pay me, I'll count whatever you want." Thank you, Dan Yergin, for revealing to me, and millions of others, the majestic history of the global oil market through your Pulitzer Prize-winning book, The Prize, and for your friendship and guidance in the decades since. I am very grateful for the wisdom and the system of Ed Morse, Larry Goldstein, Rob Bradley, Mark Finley, Ken Medlock, Paul Horsnell, and Ramon Espinaza. I'm especially honored to receive this award here from IAEE and KAPSARC, since the book's intent is very similar to the mission of those two organizations: bring independent and objective analysis, reason, and maybe a little passion to the energy industry and policymakers. The message of crude volatility is simple. Supply managers are essential in the oil market to prevent boom and bust cycles that are ruinous not only for the oil industry, but for the broader economy and financial markets. OPEC and its predecessor, the Texas Railroad Commission, successfully tamed oil market volatility for 8 decades. That benefited the world economy. As His Royal Highness pointed out, OPEC Plus is currently managing the market successfully amidst unusually high uncertainty, and we should hope for its continued success. Now, this message does not make me popular in Washington. I am not invited to parties very often, but it's a message they need to hear, and hopefully they understand. For perhaps the scarcest energy commodity today is independent and objective analysis. Sound policymaking requires it, even if it displeases prevailing political narratives. So, the IAEE and KAPSARC are needed more than ever. There is a dangerously widening gap between increasingly sweeping official targets for energy transitions on the one hand, and objective analyses of their costs and practicality on the other. Or, as Prince Abdulaziz said tonight, we're seeing more emigration to la-la land. Look, decarbonization is important, but as we reach for the stars, we must keep our feet on the ground. We can't afford big mistakes in energy. Objective and rational experts must step in and fill this ambition analysis gap. For that reason, I remain proud to be a member of the IAEE, honored it has bestowed the 2023 Marcel Bateau Award on Crude Volatility, and eager to learn from all of you in the week to come. Thank you very much.
And now for the announcement you've all been waiting for. Thank you first to Your Royal Highness, Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman Al Saud, for your wonderful presence. You really made this a wonderful evening. Thank you, Daniel Yergin. Thank you, our sponsors. Thank you, our President, Fahad Al-Ajlan, and also and of course, our esteemed winners, of the IAEE Awards. And now I'd like to invite you to join us for the gala dinner.